how's it going? Today I'm going to be doing a new computer build using an NVIDIA 3000 series GPU and an AMD 5000 series CPU. First off, let's get all these boxes open. Perfect, now we can start the build. After that, I'll run through all the parts that were used and then display some benchmarks. So I can honestly say I'm really happy with how this build turned out. I was a little worried that there'd be some issues synchronizing all the different RGB, but as you can see, it all worked out perfectly. Overall, I'd say the build wasn't too difficult to complete, although I had a little bit of a challenge with the power supply cables at the top of the case. However, there is this nice little black pattern on the tempered glass that helps to hide that very well. Now I'm going to run through each of the parts separately and share some insight on why I chose them. Starting with the case, I decided to go with the Metallic Gear Neo Mini V2 for this build. I wanted one that was smaller than a regular ATX, but still preserved a semi-normal layout for the components. This case puts the power supply at the top instead of the bottom, which makes room for a larger graphics card and gives it access to more fresh air. For the motherboard, I chose the ROG STRIX X570i by ASUS. I do admit this motherboard is slightly overkill, and a B550i would likely perform just as well. However, I went with this one because it fully supports PCIe 4.0 throughout the board and offers a stronger VRM with active cooling. It also gives you 7 full-size USB ports on the back. Now onto the CPU. Seeing as it is arguably one of the best ones on the market right now for price and performance, I chose the Ryzen 7 5800X. This 8-core 16-thread chip offers the highest base clock out of all the Ryzen 5000 series CPUs at 3.8 GHz and a max boost clock of 4.7. For the RAM, I went with 32 GB of G-Skill Trident Z RGB clocked at 3600 MHz. That's 2 sticks of 16 gigs. AMD CPUs tend to benefit quite a bit from lower latency RAM, so I got the CL16 version. While this may be a little pricier, it's certainly worth the performance gain in my opinion. Next up is storage. Seeing as I chose a motherboard that has dual PCIe 4.0 M.2 slots, it made sense to go with the Sabrent 2TB Rocket NVMe 4.0. Ultra-fast SSDs like this one tend to get quite hot under sustained loads, so the built-in M.2 heat spreader on the motherboard pairs well. The CPU cooler is definitely the centerpiece of this build. NZXT's Kraken Z63 AIO liquid cooler is clearly seen through the tempered glass panel at the side of the case. Its programmable LCD screen is a really awesome addition to the rest of the lighting that's connected. The GPU was by far the hardest component to get. After many attempts, I was finally able to order an EVGA RTX 3080 XC3 Ultra. This card is one of the only two 3080s that actually fit with this layout, and the end is only a few millimeters from the AIO fans. Lastly, we have the power supply. With a Ryzen 7 and a 3080, NVIDIA recommends that you have a power supply that's rated for at least 750 watts. To be on the safe side, I chose the gold-certified Corsair RM850X. This PSU is fully modular, which helped with cable management in the back and top of the case. Now that I've run through every part, I will share some benchmarks just to kind of show how the final product performs. It's good to keep in mind that I have undervolted the GPU slightly, and I've also adjusted the fan curves. This is more so just to improve performance and thermals. This will kind of explain any differences or deviations you see between my results and stock examples. And with that, I think I've run through pretty much everything. I'm going to leave you with some more clips of the finished product, and yeah, thanks so much for watching.